YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with the four most underrated NFL teams for the upcoming 2019 season. I did the same exact video, but for the four most overrated teams. So if you haven't seen that, go check it out. But right here in this video, we're talking about the four most underrated teams heading into the season. So before we get into it, we got some new exclusive content here at the Goat House. Be much appreciated if you guys can check it out. On the left side, it's more YouTube-based stuff. There's a join button you'll see right now underneath the video. Underneath every single video, you can get special badges, emojis for comment section and for chat for live streams, sneak peeks, polls, bonus videos, behind-the-scene videos, plenty more. On the right is Patreon-based stuff. It's a different site. The link is at the very top of the description. It's a Patreon link. You can possibly join our fantasy football league, our Pick'ems league, private Discord chat, which is very cool, and then plenty more. There's ways to get shout-outs and then get your predictions in our picks videos for the upcoming season here. So a lot going on there. A few of you already joined, really both memberships. We already had people for a while in the YouTube memberships, and we have a few people that just joined just the other day in our fantasy league, picks league, and the Discord. Discord's real cool. We can talk amongst ourselves, private chat for the Goat House, and any Q&As we want to do, or just talk football during football. It's very cool. So please check it out. I mean, you don't have to go in there and join it instantly, but if you just check it out, that'd be much appreciated right there. Subscriber goal. It's at 40K. You guys know the drill there. So if you don't subscribe, please subscribe. Full coverage of the NFL in season, predictions leading up to the season, and then click that like button. Check out our Twitter. All that would be much appreciated. Underrated teams. Let's get into it. This is in order. The fourth most underrated team to me is the Denver Broncos. The Broncos, I think they can have an elite defense. We kind of expected their defense last few years to be up there, and it wasn't quite there. I haven't really agreed with their coaching. And they added a very good defensive mind, very good defensive coach in Vic Fangio. We see what he did with the Bears. It's a very similar defense. Very similar defense in terms of the most important part, the players. It should be ran based off what kind of personnel you have, and that's what will happen here. Looking at the most important thing in football for winning is quarterback play, pass rush, and coaching. So you get the good coach, and then you look at that pass rush. Von Miller, Bradley Chubb. That might be the best pass rush in football. It's very elite. So that's definitely, just that alone can make the Broncos, a lot better. I think they have a lot of young talent that's going to improve, that has been improving. Flacco, I'm not a huge believer, but you still can't, people are kind of just ruling him out. Just 100% no. This offense ain't going to score points because Flacco, and the reason to doubt Flacco is that, the Ravens weren't going to make the playoffs with him in. They had to put a rookie quarterback that's known as kind of a raw quarterback, needs time to develop halfway through the season to make the playoffs. That's the bad part of Flacco, but a fresh start could be very good. And I think it's a good system fit. I think they go together. Flacco and this offense, what Elway wants to do, what the coaching staff wants to do. They want to throw the ball downfield. I think the receivers fit him too. I think the offensive weapons are better than you think. You start to talk about these weapons. Lindsey was great last year. They got a good running back room with Freeman and Theo Riddick now. I like their receivers. I think the main underrated part is their receivers. Watch out for Deshaun Hamilton, but the obvious two would be Sanders and Courtland Sutton. I love Courtland Sutton. Flacco with him is going to be great. Maybe not great, but it's going to be pretty darn good. So I think they're underrated for all these reasons. I think, I'm not saying they're a playoff team. I think they can get there. I think people are sleeping on them because I see a lot of predictions and I see a lot of under 6-win predictions, and that just makes them, a very underrated team because we've seen defense alone could get you more than that many wins. They get you more than 6 wins easy, just defense alone. We've seen struggling offenses. I know it's more of an offensive league, but we still see it. And an elite defense, not saying they're 100% an elite defense, but an elite defense can get you pretty darn far, especially an elite pass rush. So we will see. I think they're definitely underrated, but somebody that's a little more underrated to me. Number 3 on the list going to be the Detroit Lions. They're starting to get a little more hype. I think that Mike Daniels, even though it's on a gigantic signing, as soon as that happened, I think people started to hype a little bit, but nothing over the top at all. I'm not saying that, but so obviously I have them on the underrated list. But I think they're an extremely balanced team. There's not really any hole. Then they can use another corner or two. I mean, everyone could use more corners, but I guess if I had to pick a hole, that's probably where it would be. Hopefully their offensive line stays healthy. They have weapons. Kerryon Johnson, look at the receivers, Marvin Jones and Kenny Galladay, who I like a lot. So, I mean, Stafford can get this going, and I think a lot of the struggles last year was he was trying to force it to the tight ends. I think the play calling was trying to force it to the tight ends. They didn't have the tight ends. Now they got TJ Hawkinson, who I think is instantly, easily a top 10 tight end in terms of blocking, catching, route running after the catch. I really think that. You don't see a guy like that every draft. So that's a big-time pickup. The defense got better, and you look at the end of last year, Patricia really got that defense going. He's a good coach, and this is his second year to learn. He's kind of got his team set. It's hard to get your team set in the first year. I know that goes to any second-year coach, but Patricia has the experience, the winning experience. He's a good coach. He's a very good defensive mind, and we saw it at the end of last year. The defense got hot. It got going, It definitely got going. So I think that can continue. I don't know if they'll be an elite defense, but to be a very good defense. So that will continue. And I think they improve. We talked about they got Mike Daniels, they got Trey Flowers. They got some very good draft picks there too. So they definitely got better. And I talked about how they got better on the offensive side. And something I noticed about the Lions, NFC North, pretty much every team in the NFC North, it's just any matchup, it's a battle. Anybody can win. The Lions kind of been doing that. On any Sunday, they can beat the Packers. We saw that last year. They can put up a fight with the Vikings and possibly beat them. And same thing with the Bears. The Thanksgiving game came down to the wire, even though the Lions didn't play their best game. Now this team's better with their second-year coach. And are they going to continue to put up the fight, or is it going to be, maybe they can actually take that next step and just be the better team? We will see. So I think they improved, and I think they're complete. And, I'm a Vikings fan myself, and it's just, I'm 100% know that this is, the Lions are a team you can't take lightly. It's never a free win. I think people outside watching the NFC North almost came to expect the Lions to be a free win. It never really has been, and it's definitely not now. It's definitely a team that can put up a fight. And really, I say it many times. I'm saying it again. I think anybody in the NFC North can win that division. It's tough to pick who will win it, but the Lions are a team to watch out for. Number 2 most underrated team in the NFL, in my opinion, for this season is going to be the Tennessee Titans. And it says the same exact thing there at the beginning as the Lions. Extremely balanced team, no holes. So same thing applies to this Titans team. They're balanced. They got talent everywhere. It's just really about staying healthy, and you kind of look back to last year. They were that Colts game. They had to win to get in. They lose, they're out, and they had Blaine Gabbert playing. And so basically they were one game short of the playoffs while missing so many players. The first game of the year last year, I remember, was like a nightmare for them. Everybody was getting hurt. Mariota got hurt. Delaney Walker was out for season there. Offensive line's getting beat up. So it was a disaster right off the bat, and they still put up a fight, almost made the playoffs, and they got better pretty much everywhere. I mean, if Mariota does get hurt again, they do have Tannehill. That's a darn good backup quarterback. And then the offensive line, they had Saffold, so that got better. The receiver unit was probably the worst in football going into last year. Now it's pretty solid. You add to an improving Corey Davis, you add Humphreys, who was very solid year, breakout year last year for the Buccaneers, and you had A.J. Brown, who I think is a plug-and-play guy because he can pretty much line up anywhere and run any route. You just throw him the ball and he makes some moves. So I think they got better that way. A lot of young talent. The defense that got better. So I think and then Vrabel another year as a coach. And then people forget their defense was pretty good. In terms of points allowed, nobody probably would have thought this, but they were second in the AFC in points allowed the whole year after the Ravens. The Ravens were ridiculous last year. So the Titans actually quietly had one of the better defenses in the game last year. And a trend I've actually noticed many times over the years is a team that, just kind of improved their defense from the year before. Hasn't really given up a lot of points. They were good in terms of points per game. They kind of took that next step even the next year. So it's definitely a defense to look out for. They just need to stay healthy. That's just the main thing. We talked about the injuries last year too. I forgot to mention Jarrell Casey got hurt at the end of the year, probably their best player. So, and they didn't use Derrick Henry in the beginning of the year because I couldn't tell you why actually. And then he was lighting it up at the second half of the year. So the Titans stay healthy, do things right. They're definitely a playoff team, definitely a playoff caliber team. Number 1 most underrated team, in my opinion, is going to be the Baltimore Ravens. People just kind of ruling them out. It's weird. Every time you see predictions, for the AFC North, it's Browns, Steelers, Ravens, and then Bengals. It just seems like every single time. And if not, it's Steelers, Browns, Ravens. And I'm not saying the Ravens are going to win the division. I think they very well could. But I think people are sleeping on it a little bit. There's a couple reasons why they don't trust Lamar Jackson. There's still people in their head. They think Lamar Jackson's not a quarterback, not a receiver. He's not going to get any areas. He's a receiver, or he should be a receiver. Just mind-blowing. And they lost key defensive players. That's the most things. So, that's probably the thing said the most about them. The defense is really good. It's what won them games, got them to the playoffs, which is kind of true. But Lamar Jackson kind of turned things around. The offense got going. But they didn't, you look at it, they lost C.J. Mosley, and that hurts a little bit. They lost to Darius Smith, which he's only really had one good year. But you look at this team, they have not pretty good. They had the best depth in football, I think, last year in terms of defense. That secondary is still there. It's still really good, but they added Earl Thomas. As long as he stays healthy, that secondary, even without him, I like that secondary a lot. It's very good. And then you look at the linebacker, you lost C.J. Mosley, but you had Awunasar, who was playing lights out at the end of last year. We already know he's good. And then Kenny Young was playing very, very well, the rookie out of UCLA a year ago, when he got the chance. So they have guys to step up. Middle linebacker is really not, it's hard to fill C.J. Mosley's shoes, but it's really not hard to get guys that step up, especially when you've seen enough from them, when you see they can play. All of a sudden they don't just disappear and stop playing good. Those guys will step up. The only thing I worry about is the pass rush, but they have good depth. They've drafted young guys over the years that we really haven't seen yet, and you're kind of wondering why. They're really good at developing the defensive players. They really are. And this year's the year where they can do that. Looking at guys like Bowser, Tim Williams, Judon's going to start. He's going to be solid. And they have Shane Ray in there too, who I'm waiting to break out. So, and they have the same defensive line. So the defense, and they're very well coached on defense. I forgot to add that. They are very, very well coached on defense. I don't think Weddle's a big loss. I don't think that's a huge loss to me. Almost forgot to mention him though. But they'll be good on defense. And the offense, I think Lamar Jackson improves. We look at him last year. What did he go when he came in? It's such a hard situation when you get thrown into, here you go win games or we're screwed. That's such a hard situation. He went 6-1, I believe it was, the rest of the season, got them to the playoffs, and then I think people remember that playoff game too and kind of doubt them. Just remember the fans booing and kind of the offense being a disaster. The play calling was a disaster. As soon as they let Lamar Jackson play in the late second half, he balled out and he came back. So it's really about calling the right plays, having the right game plan. It was the play calling and the game plan offensively pretty terrible in that playoff game. So I think I'm saying it's a learning experience for that coaching staff to know what you have at quarterback. The offensive coaching staff, I should say, the defense was fantastic, coaching and playing wise. And then it's a learning experience for the fans to not boo your young quarterback, unless indeed I hope they were booing the coaches, because that's what I would have been doing. So yeah, I think they actually got better. And something I totally forgot to mention on the offensive side, I'm not a huge Ingram fan, but they added a better running back in Mark Ingram. They added Justice Hill, who I like a lot too, and it's so perfect for the Ravens, because I was worried about. I love Justice Hill, love this tape. I was worried about somebody putting too much on him and having him be like an every down back, because his tape makes you stand up and makes you wow and like, this guy's special, but he's not an every down back. It's perfect with the group they got, and when he rotates in, he's going to be good, especially with Lamar Jackson. He's going to be good. So I like that. And then the main part, they had one of the worst, maybe the worst receiver units in football last year. They added 2 guys in the draft that I really, really like, and I know they're rookies, but I think they're going to make a big impact right away, and that's Hollywood Brown, Marquise Hollywood Brown, and I think, man, the impact he's going to make is going to be ridiculous. People are forgetting about that or something. And then Miles Boykin was pro-ready. It's a big body receiver that can run routes at the same time, and he's gotten more athletic over the years too. So I think getting those 2 together, like 2 totally different receivers, but that can make an instant impact, was just fantastic. So I'm looking forward to that. I think this team got better. I know they lost C.J. Mosley and maybe a couple other guys. That it hurts to lose C.J. Mosley, but that's really the only one. I really think they got better. Lamar Jackson's got to continue to progress. the coaching staff has to trust him, and they got to do whatever they did on defense last year. I applaud their drafting on defense over the years to gain that depth that they had, because their depth was ridiculous. But I really applaud the coaching last year. I've never seen a defensive scheme kind of stand out because of coaching. It stood out to me, especially down the stretch last year. It really stood out. So hopefully that continues. It's possible teams figured it out. That happens all the time. Teams figure out offenses going into next year. Teams figure out defense. Not saying that will happen, but it's just something to think about. That's going to do it for my underrated teams. Let me know your guys' thoughts. If you guys disagree, agree, I want to see all those types of comments down there. Please check out our new memberships, link in the description. And then hopefully you can join us for the rest of the offseason. Plenty more to come. And then in-season recaps, power rankings, weekly picks, all kinds of stuff covering the NFL. Cannot wait. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.